So where you left off, Dad? Something about being of a sound mind and body, and Ezra was getting everything.
Yeah, he waited to hear the camera beep before he said anything.
Everything meaning nothing.
Sound mind and body. Ezra gets all of your debt.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna marry him then.
Now earlier you were talking about these two dogs you had. What were their names?
Sammy?
No. That we had like about the time we moved into the house at Fairfield.
Frida,
The one that jumped out the pickup truck?
Humphrey and Frida.
Yeah.
Frida, and what was the other one's name?
Allie.
So when did you get those dogs? Who?
I don't know.
How did they run away?
Yeah, well, tell the story about the one that you told earlier today about jumping out of the pickup truck.
that was Sammy.
No, Sammy was their little dog the Chihuahua that got
Destroyed.
eaten up by a terrier or something.
It failed on its own.
Tell us about
Yeah,
the one
it's
that
actually
ate the
defense
string
roles.
around the roast beef.
That's Chihuahua.
Yeah, I think I fed him the, the string you have around roast beef and everything. I gave that to him and he ate it. And that came out a little bit at a time. Oh,
Oh, that's terrible.
drag it out.
I remember all the
Which dog was that?
That was Sammy.
Good thing. No wonder they shake. Oh, here.
No, you were.
Was that so you could wind it up and let it go?
Well, Sammy was so buff, no string could hold him.
No, you told a story earlier today, and you were spot on with telling it. You didn't stutter or anything. You were talking about, was it Frida?
Stutter. I don't stutter.
Was it Frida? You said that was in the when you went on the road trip.
Allie.
Allie. So tell the story about Allie.
What about him?
When you went on the trip and he was in the back.
Well,
Yeah, or you can do this.
Allie took off
Lay your head down like this. It's used for
somewhere
everything.
around,
Except for stuff like
I don't know, 70 miles.
hair and then cutting your hair with it.
Previous.
That's
Our last stop had been 70 miles previous to that.
Where was this on the trip to?
Yes, on the trip. The trip. Before you came along.
So this would be 78,
The good old
79?
days.
Yeah,
Before
78.
things got bad.
And then,
It was just a trip across all of America.
yep, cross.
Well, Caleb, we didn't take you. We didn't love you.
Yeah, I know. You didn't love me back then.
Yeah. That's like I was telling everybody earlier, because I was born on Halloween, and my sister was complaining because nobody was there to take her trick-or-treating. Everybody was up at the hospital. So she didn't get to go trick-or-treating that year.
Even though your sister,
Is a year and a half younger.
yeah.
But she used to get a lot of sympathy from her friends when she told them that story.
But I was telling the story about Allie when he was riding in the back of the pickup. He used to always stand on the edge and put his head out and watch his tongue waggle in the, I guess,
In the breeze.
in the breeze. And he leaned way over, and we were going along this one street, and I went, down and up, and he was airborne all of a sudden. And he hit there and he just tumbled. And
You got the
wasn't-
volume turned up.
he wasn't hurt badly. I mean, it was dinged up and everything, and
No broken bones, though.
no broken bones. I think I had to help him into the pickup though
A little sore.
this time, and he sat right dead center like that the rest of the trip. He wouldn't go near the side, near the edge like he did before. But I would just generally take him because he was kind of adventuresome and liked going for rides and pickup and everything. But
So what breed of dog was he?
I don't know.
Well, we got him and his sister. She looked terrier and he looked like he was mostly dachshund. But we were looking for another Chihuahua, and the lady guaranteed they would turn into Chihuahuas when they grew up.
Turn into chihuahuas.
Yes,
So that you say he was just a little smaller than Axel here?
he was about that length but shorter legged. And
He
he
got
was
bigger
pretty
than
much all
Soda.
black.
But
Frida had that coarse fuzzy fur. She was all black with some brown.
Anything to make a sale, Ezra.
Archie.
Good, yeah.
Sounds like a teacup pig.
That's just what the dog will sit there for hours and let you do.
So you brought Allie with you on this big trip. What was this big trip you made in about 78? Was it 78, Mom?
Yes, it was when Joseph was a month old we left. And we had 3 of them in diapers.
So what was this trip?
This was the trip to sell Air Wipe. And we had
Is that like a toiletry?
Yeah, since we got the camera out and we're recording it, why don't you explain what Air Wipe is?
Air Wipe sat on the edge of the
Mirrors.
mirrors, the West Coast mirrors that were out from the truck, and with a blast of air, it would clean all the water and ice even off of it. But it was looked like it was might be going pretty good, and then actually since then they have developed the
Heated.
heated mirrors where they didn't require those anymore. And the heated mirrors used to burn
A ring.
a ring around inside the mirror if you left them on all the time. But now they can leave them on all the time, and it doesn't impact the mirror at all.
But if your rear mirror, if those mirrors are all covered with water, you can't see out clearly, and your rear view vision is obstructed.
And it was just blasted air on it, just so you didn't have to get out just while you're driving, clear the mirrors.
Yeah,
Especially the one on the right side.
yeah, especially it's hard to get out when you're driving. And
Well, you can roll your window down and get all wet and reach out and wipe off that mirror right there, and it'll stay wiped off for maybe a whole few seconds. But Air Wipe, you just push the button and it's set up with a blast of air.
you go psst, and it'd be clear enough that you could see. Then you could change lanes. Then if it beat it up again, it wasn't a problem. But it was especially effective for changing lanes and things like that.
So
So-
David bought a list of trucking companies all across the United States where we would be traveling, so that he could go in and introduce himself and demonstrate his product, and hopefully they would buy, enough for their whole fleet of 2,000, but you know what? Nobody wanted to buy it unless it was just one to try. So we came home with a whole box of them still.
How did you get set up with that? Do you know the distributor or?
No, we
Rick
designed it.
Corbin.
Rick Forbin and I designed it, figured out how it would work and everything.
David's the idea man, but Rick figured out how to build a,
He did the engine. So Dad had the idea. Rick did the engineering.
Yep,
Okay. So it's basically something you and Rick invented Airwipe, and you were going around to all these trucking companies selling it.
yeah, and before that, we went to a couple truck shows. One down, I don't know, somewhere down
Irving.
south.
Irving.
Huh?
Irving,
Oh no,
okay.
it was way south, like
Needles or something south.
Bernardino.
no, not in California. It was in
Texas or
New Mexico, Arizona.
East Coast or West Coast?
Middle Coast?
Middle Coast, yeah. Middle Coast.
Mississippi?
That's what it called itself, was the Midway
Oh, Midwest or?
truck show and everything. But it was pretty cool.
See if you can find a plug for this, like behind me.
We ate a lot of hot dogs
Somewhere they can reach to where I'm sitting.
and demonstrated them.
Everybody else had pretty girls to demonstrate theirs, but they made me stay home.
And that was my
Okay, so you were going across all of America, big trip to sell Airwipe. How long did you guys spend doing that then?
6 months.
Yeah, we left in November. Joseph was born October 2nd. We left in November and headed through Utah, Nevada and Utah. And I remember we had Thanksgiving in, I just remember we got to visit with my grandma Wilson there in Utah. And then we headed on to Missouri to my mother's house, and we were there for a couple of weeks at Christmas time. And we were planning on going up to New York and down the coast and around, but somehow the weather, we got smart and decided to go south and across. So we had much better weather. And Ezra and Micah got these little trikes for Christmas that year, and there wasn't room in the trailer for them, so David tied them on top of the trailer. So we were a little trailer with our two little red and yellow trikes up there. And Grandma lived on the bottom of a big hill, so they'd go up the hill and then ride like crazy coming down, and it was coming so fast they couldn't keep their feet on the pedals, just stick out and down you go.
And Ezra would keep his feet
On the ground.
He was scared.
One step at a time. Micah was down there. Whee!
Micah was the crazy man. He just,
Oh, Micah loved it when you threw him up in the air and caught him, and Ezra was terrified.
yeah.
Ezra was smart. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, once you drop them once, they can never trust you again.
I haven't been able
Ready
to,
yet.
to throw Micah up in the air for a long time.
I'm dying.
So what was the setup? You had a pickup hauling a trailer.
And the trailer was nice and big and long, but they didn't have anything like slide outs in those days. So we had a living room and a kitchen, and then there was a door there. And then there was a door back, the second door was into a large bathroom. And then up the stairs, and David built 2 little beds for 2 little boys, and Joseph was in a little porta crib. And that was their, well, I don't know if it was the first night, but there was one night we were out there in the middle of the snow, and it was very cold, and I wrapped Joseph up in so many little blankets that we had to give him an aspirin to bring his body temperature back down.
It's done his growth.
You remember that? Yeah, it's done his growth all right.
Yeah, he almost got, he definitely got overheated, I don't know.
Well, he was in the warm sleeper pajamas and then a bunch of blankets on him because his mother was so worried about him. And then after that, I just wrapped him up normal.
But they slept up there and we slept on the hide-a-bed that was our couch down there at the bottom.
And now you had 2 dogs. You brought one of them with you, and one of them stayed home.
With a friend. Agreed to take care of her while we were gone. So we came home without Allie, and I'd have been content to let them keep Frida, but they didn't want to keep her. So we had to take her back, and she turned out to be a chicken killer. She could go through a herd just like that, a flock. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Just like that. We could not break her of it. And people said, well, different things to try. One of them was, if you tied the chicken around the dog's neck and made the dog wear the chicken for the rest of the day or a couple of days or whatever, she just looked so pathetic dragging that chicken around because she wasn't very big and the chicken was. And it still didn't cure her. I think we finally had to get rid of her because she was killing our chickens and neighbor chickens. But she was a terrier. I mean, that's their instinct, a rat terrier, to go after something and kill it.
So that wasn't until you guys moved to the Solano Road.
Solano Road, yeah.
Because you were still living in Vallejo at that time, or where were you guys living when you left on?
Vallejo. We came back and rented a little house in Vallejo for, I don't know, a month or so. And then we
We
moved.
almost bought a house in Vallejo that was a real fancy house, or what seemed fancy to us.
Yes.
But then we looked around at the school district and everything, and that was not acceptable to us with kids that were going to be in school pretty soon. So we looked around in
Up in
Fairfield,
Fairfield.
and we bought a house out in Fairfield.
But that wasn't Solano Road.
That was Azalea Court.
Very good.
That was where Ezra released the brake on the Cadillac.
Wait, Cadillac?
Truck.
No, it was a
The
Cadillac.
Cadillac.
Oh.
Don't even try to defend you.
And it coasted backwards around and
Yeah.
just missed 2 cars.
And it was right straight into 2 cars on either side. There was just absolutely enough room to back that Cadillac in there. And it just went down and around and stopped. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
It was Ezra's first driving experience. And Ezra and Frida used to take walks. And we lived back behind a shopping center. And one time the policeman found him or something and brought him back. Do you remember that, Ezra?
Oh, I remember. I'll tell you what happened.
Oh,
We
good.
let the dog out every day, and he would go and do stuff.
And this is Frida.
And I just wanted to know where the dog went every day. So I followed the dog outside,
and we walked to the end of the court, and then we walked over to the shopping center where what?
Mission Hills Road.
Yeah, it was the Mission one.
Mission Village.
It's a Walmart now.
And then we turned and like south and we walked along it, and then we got up to the intersection near where the Kmart was, and cars would drive by and they kind of slow down. They look at me because how old was I?
3?
No one stopped or anything, you know.
We live in California.
And they, but they looked at me weird, and it made me feel weird, and so I abandoned the dog and walked back behind Kmart, or not Kmart, but back behind the Mission place,
Mission Village.
and then walked back to the house. And I had gotten back onto Azalea Court, and I was only a few houses down, kind of near where those kids lived with the
Dudleys?
not the Dudleys, the other side of the street with Angel and.
Oh, they live next door to us.
No, they were a couple houses down. I just remember watching them smoke their dad's cigarette butts that they leave out on the curb.
Cool.
They had a 2-story house,
Yeah, okay.
so.
The house next to the next of us.
Yeah. So that's where the cops stopped me. And he kept asking me where I lived. And I'm pointing at the house and telling him. And he doesn't understand anything that I'm saying. And he's getting frustrated with me. I'm getting frustrated with him. I'm just trying to go back home. And about that time, you came out the front door. And you made this big deal. Oh, there's my kid. You know,
Well, I didn't want them to think you were neglected.
I knew where I lived. I was just trying to get there, and you stopped me only a few houses down.
And that
Then
made you decide to be a cop when you grew up.
Then my mom, I was so mad at that cop. Then my mom spanked me in front of that police officer.
Ooh!
I was so mad at you.
Well, you remember better than I do, that's for sure.
I did, because you spanked me in front of the police officer and embarrassed me.
Well, it was either that or get taken to prison for child neglect. Child
Good
abuse
job
was
watching your
okay,
kids,
just
lady.
not neglect.
You should get chained up like a dog.
Yeah. Tell that story.
I don't know what you're talking
He
about.
loved the dog.
It's one of the reasons why we have a beagle now.
It's our turn, Jessica.
It's not my story. That's Mom's story.
Well, I'll start it out. My mom would leave, and we'd be all home alone,
Oh,
and she'd leave in her big, giant, full-size brown van, the big Ford brown van.
With the tan stripe, if I remember
And
right.
she'd be heading down the road, and Joseph just could not stand it. He'd start crying and trying to follow her down the road.
that's not what happened at all.
Okay, you tell the story then, Mom. You're the authority.
Okay.
How do you know you weren't there? We'd watch her like come back, Mommy.
Okay, this is after we had Theo, because it wasn't with, he wasn't taking walks with Frida. Now Theo, we got her on Washington's birthday. And the kids were going to be home all day long from the mother's standpoint. And Ezra got up and got dressed and he opened the front door and there was a dog sitting there. So Theo came in and was a member of our family for several years.
Hit the dog with the screen door by accident.
Oh, yeah.
Sleeping on the porch.
But the dog was happy if you hit her because then she got to stay with our wonderful family. So we named her Theodore, but she was a girl, we called her Theo. And then,
Theo really just walked up to the house.
yeah, just opened the door and there she was. And she came on the day I needed her. Because
Huh.
kids were
Did you
all
drop
at
some food
school.
on the floor and didn't want to
And
clean it?
Ezra played with her all day long and probably didn't bother me once. Anyway, Joseph we lived in a rural area, there's no sidewalks or anything.
How old was Theo when she showed up then?
She was still a young pup, big pup, but still young. And,
So we had Theo for a long time. I remember her.
yeah, all right. And then Joseph
That's your dad.
would
That's
watch
your dad.
Theo, and Theo would run out to the street, I guess, and Joseph would follow the dog, and then the dog would follow Joseph, and they kind of take turns going places.
Sounds like the same story Ezra just told.
Yeah, well, this one, if he had turned, he walked down to the end of the street with the dog, and if he turned left, he'd have gone out on a very busy street, but he always turned right, and like he'd get clear over to Bradford's, and I'd be out looking for him. And that happened like 2 or 3 times. I could not convince him to not do that. It was, you know, there's a difference between, I want to say,
No, hit the light
knowledge.
switches.
You can have knowledge, but not
There's
know
right
how
behind
to
you, Matthew.
use it. And he had knowledge on how to
By the
open
curtain,
the
behind the
door, but he
curtain.
didn't have the wisdom not to do it. So that was my knowledge and wisdom thing. Anyway, I
I'll tell you.
just
Try another one.
had it. I didn't know what to do with him to keep him at home. So I took a belt and put it around his waist, 2 dog leashes so he had plenty of room, and clipped it to his belt. I brought his bed in so that it was there in the family room next to the wrought iron railing where I clipped the belt. He could have his bed. He could reach all the toys in the corner, and
Wait,
he
I think you
could
got
join
it.
us at the table for dinner.
I don't know which one it was, but
But-
it's on now.
He loved it. It was not a punishment. He would just tug on that leash and he would be a dog. He thought it was wonderful. That was about Monday. By Friday, his best friend, Eddie Harris, came over. And Eddie could go outside and play, but Joseph couldn't because he was still tied to his bed. And that's when he realized
Chained.
chained to that wrought iron railing. That's when he realized he didn't want to be a dog anymore, and he wanted to mind and stay in the yard and not run away with the dog, or not walk away. They didn't run away, they just kind of wandered away. And that was the end of that. We didn't have any more trouble with it. But it took till Eddie came over and he realized that being chained to his bed wasn't as much fun as he thought it was. Do you remember it differently, Joseph?
Oh, pretty much it.
Did it really last that long?
Yeah,
How old was he?
12.
3.
Ezra. Where did Eddie live back then?
Other part of Fairfield.
Dixon.
No, that they lived on.
Did he? Was
say
it
Santa Rosa?
the same one that's like?
Travis Boulevard.
Yeah,
Just off of Travis.
yeah. It was. Because I'm thinking that's how did they meet then? If that's kind of a far ways to be like a neighborhood thing.
His mother and I were good friends.
Oh,
We have
okay.
pictures when we lived on Azalea Court of 2 high chairs side by side, and Eddie in one and Joseph in the other. So they've been friends since they were both about 1 year old.
Oh, okay. So what else should we tell?
Now,
Well, we hit 2 of them.
Your adoring fans.
there's a story of Micah on
We're
this
on that
trip.
trip.
One of the first nights out, we were in
Is it the big trip in '78?
And this
Yeah,
is, and
78.
we were in Nevada.
and they were. It was cold. It was really nasty.
Big area, big field and everything.
And we stopped at a RV park that
Next to a
normally
big field.
would be a park, but just a big field. And
Cold.
he was following
Well, they've been cooped up all day, so
Allie, and
they were walking around while David was hitching up and we were getting settled and everything, and Allie took off running. He needed some exercise. Micah took off after him.
And we looked around, we couldn't find him anywhere. We were getting frantic. It was starting to get dark. It was going to be below freezing. And I took off down in south of us there, just and looking for him. And I don't know what you were doing, Sylvia, but
Well, I still had 2 other babies that
Yeah.
had to take care of.
I was
We didn't need
desperate.
Micah, we had 2 more.
And it wasn't until I was a long ways away from the trailer, and I could look out there and just barely see his head bobbing up and down, where he was heading out for who knows where. For Ezra, well, for
It was Micah.
Micah, and I corralled him. I screamed at him and hailed him until he got,
Till he heard you and
until I
stopped.
heard you, and I stopped and everything. But man, it was a spooky. It was just about dark by the time I got him back and everything. But our very first night, and we almost lost him over that. He had kept going, I don't know for how long, till it got real dark.
The coyotes got him.
Huh?
So the coyotes would get him.
Yeah,
Micah loves to travel. You would have gone out for quite a while.
yeah. Yep. And he, well anyway, he did get, he got back. But we started watching our kids a whole lot closer after that.
Oh, except for when we were in a nice, really nice park in New Orleans, and it was one of these, it was all paved except right where you would be parking your trailer, and you could get out on grass, and they had all these posts connected with white chains, and it was beautiful park.
And they had these
Till
statues.
the lady brought them in. They'd been outside playing and peeing in her trailer park. And she did not approve of that.
They
So
were
I didn't
both-
admit that I knew them.
Both pretty much housebroken by then, and now they understood where P was coming from and how to direct it.
She didn't appreciate it.
And-
Well, you know, of all the times for her to be driving by or walking by would be right that moment.
Yeah, the gypsy camp that you stayed at.
Oh my goodness, yes. We sure guarded our children there. David was king of the gypsies because he had the biggest trailer in the camp. And they treated him with deference and respect. And there, we had that little toy that was wonderful. It was like a music box, but it looked like a plastic record player. You put different discs in that would play. And this one little boy just fell in love with it.
Oh, wasn't it? Yeah, I
We
think I
were
remember.
wondering if we would ever get it back, but when he went down to sleep to take his nap, his mother sneaked it out and brought it back to us. But I was worried that we'd be missing one of our children. But they were very polite, and I invited them in and showed them where we were. They were so impressed with our trailer because it was bigger and nicer than anything that they had. And there were some others that were bigger trailers, but not as big as ours. David always wanted to stay in like a state park. He didn't want to go to the RV parks where there was an easy, accessible parking and hookups and things. And we were in what state? Pennsylvania?
No,
Where?
it was Alabama or one of those.
So he went into this park. But this park was designed for smaller vehicles than we had. and it was kind of a U-shaped thing. And he got around to the second loop on the U and could not go forward anymore. There was no room to get that trailer turned. He had to turn and back the whole way out the way we came in. And that was the last time we tried a state park.
Well, it wasn't the last
Yeah,
time.
but if he wouldn't have been a good trucker, we sure would still be there now.
Well, if he wasn't a good trucker, you probably wouldn't be out there making a trip selling trucking supplies.
Well, maybe so.
So where was the gypsy camp then?
Florida.
Okay.
And they all spoke a language that I was not familiar with. They all
Romanian,
spoke
probably.
Romanian. They did. I asked them what language they were speaking. They said it was Romanian. So, and of course every state, we were in a different state every week, so a different state for every church. But we always went to church, and we always, it seemed like there was always some connection. You know, of course everybody's doing the same lessons and everything. But this one time, we'd stop and we'd look up friends that we had known from previous times who were there. There was one time we were in church and I was talking to a lady and holding Joseph, and this was in Mississippi. The same doctor that delivered Joseph delivered her baby. And David found one of his old primary teachers in Mississippi. And once when we were in Florida, and there wasn't anybody there that we knew, but there was a wonderful couple. I don't think he was a member of the church. He was from New York. She was from that southern area. And they invited us over for dinner that night.
They were members, yeah.
I don't know, well, whatever it was, he had his own way of living in a sense, because so they learned to eat bagels and he learned to eat grits. And she had us over, she says, I don't know what, but we'll find something. And she had been to the store and bought eggs, and she had more than she needed, so she had put them in the freezer to save and use it another time. But of course the eggs expanded and they all cracked. So she got them out, but she could make scrambled eggs. So we had scrambled eggs and grits and bagels. And it was so nice to talk to somebody besides just each other.
Scrambled eggs, grits, and bagels. That actually sounds like a standard breakfast this day and age.
Well, that was, anyway, it was so nice. And they had a couple of little boys, so our little boys had interactions and toys to play with, and so just to talk to somebody else. And it made me aware, and other wards what I would go to, and people would stop and visit and say hello. Out of all the wards, she was the only one who actually invited us into their home. But I will always remember that, and remember and appreciate the people who would stop and greet us and welcome us to their ward. And because after that many months, it got kind of boring. I mean, we kind of needed new faces. And on our way back, we weren't expecting to do it again, but we were close to St. Joseph. So we drove through St. Joseph and stopped there. And Ezra went up to the door, and Grandma opened the door, and he was so surprised to see Ezra there. And she had saved a stick that he found in the alley that was shaped like a gun. So he was quite at home because she had saved one of the things that he remembered for toys. There was some people that were about 3 houses up from them. We stayed in the house with Mom, but there were 3 houses up, and they had a big back area where we got to park the trailer and leave it. And we were there like 2 weeks at Christmas. And then to stop through on the way back was really special again. And we had all our mail routed to Mom, and then we would tell her what city we'd be in, and she'd send it to general delivery in that city. Because you can't go without paying your bills.
Why don't you just pay them online?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could have.
Yeah, I can pay my tithing online now, so.
Grandma Piggy.
Yep.
I was about to ask how had Grandma Peggy seen Ezra before, but you said you stopped there at Christmas. So she
Grandma would fly out. most
Yeah,
years.
you know, one thing I was always worried about was that my kids would know and love David's mother more than my mother because she was there and we could see her more often. But when we saw her, it was for a visit and then we'd go home. When my mother came, she would stay for like the whole Christmas vacation or the whole summer vacation or whatever. So she, they got to know her better because she'd come and then that would be my vacation. She'd feed them and give them their baths and everything, and they really identified with her. And I realized looking back that it's because they had maybe not as frequent visits, but they had more intensive visits.
And there
She
was
fed us
no
pancakes.
competition.
She fed
Yeah.
us pancakes,
Oh yeah, she made you pancakes.
and she wouldn't let us stop eating pancakes. We pretty much puked. Eat it. God, I'm full.
We used to go pick her up at the airport.
She would eat for kind of deep, something a lot of butter on the pan when she cooked the pancakes.
And then she met Jack.
Crispy.
Oh, yeah, well, we
Ruined it.
introduced her to Jack, but that was after you were older. But I was reading this article, this little girl, somebody asked her where her grandmother lived. She says, oh, she lives at the airport. When we want her, we go pick her up there, and when we're tired of her, we take her back. So,
She would show up. She used to fly on some airplane with a big smile on the front.
is that Southwest?
Oh no, there was a
That wasn't even
No,
exist back then.
PSA had smiles on their flight, but they were mostly up and down California. Then they got bought out by US Air.
Well, whatever. There were airplanes there, whether she was on them or not, that had smiles on them.
It's back when you could stand at the gate.
Yeah,
Those were
wow.
the good days.
yep.
That was out.
Always check the telephone.
Well, no, I really don't remember ever being at a. Oh no, wait, no, I'm thinking outside the gate. Never mind. So how often did she come over for visits? Because I really don't remember her coming over to our house except
Summers,
rare
school.
occasions.
Well,
She was a school teacher.
yeah, so she had summers and Christmas. And I'm trying to think, there was one summer, and it was summer, the beginning of summer, I flew out there with, I think I was pregnant with Joseph. I think I just had the two little ones. I was pregnant with Joseph. And so I flew out there and stayed for, I don't know, a week or so, and then she and I flew back with the kids. And that was, when we got to the airport, our flight had been canceled. And I had counted out exactly how many diapers I would need to get home. So I had to call my friend Connie, who lived about a half an hour away, come pick me up, take me to the store, I bought diapers, and that's back when plastic shopping bags that the store would give you were just out and brand new. And it was just amazing to go get them.
He got downstairs. He snuck through the doggy door, and then he couldn't figure out how to get back through.
So that means he already went downstairs and took care of everything?
Probably.
Yeah, there's
1, 2, 3, not it.
they'll sell things out there from last time.
So, anyway, then that's the summer she spent the whole summer with us, and I think we took some kind of a class. I had to keep my certificate up, and I take classes every so often. And I think we took a class or did something fun like that during the summer.
So-
And that's the summer I made a quilt and entered it in the state fair, and I got a blue ribbon on it that I've never been able to use because it was kind of a feminine girl-looking quilt. That was the year I was expecting Josephina.
What?
Yeah.
I was gonna have a sister?
There was a twin that died, but boy, we're glad she did.
Ah, I still got the scar right now.
So when and why did Grandma stop coming over? Grandma Peggy stopped coming over? Because when I was a kid, I mean, I remember her. I don't remember
She and Jeff were married
specifically.
in 1984.
Okay.
So,
I remember having there was some sort of wedding or,
The reception was at the house.
reception.
yeah, I remember in the playroom. Where
He
there was
loved
a-
cake.
There was a big table with presents, I think, in there.
And cake and stuff, yeah, we had a reception for them. They got married in the Oakland Temple, and they were going to, Mother was out here on her Christmas vacation, and they only had a few days left because the temple's not open at all during Christmas except for one day. So they got married on the 28th, and then they drove back up to Vallejo. Of course, we lived in Fairfield. They drove back up to Vallejo to Jack's house to hook up the trailer for stuff that he had, and then they went the southern route back. So we had their reception for them the night before they got married with all his friends from Vallejo, and then the next morning, then they got married. But to have them sit around and wait after they got married just to have a reception wasn't an economical use of time. So that's what we did. When Kelly died, or before Kelly died,
Kelly?
David and I were friends. Jack was also
Kelly's Jack's former wife.
yeah, Kelly was his former wife. And Jack was David's eldest quorum secretary. And they were converts to the church. A neighbor had invited Kelly to Relief Society, and she just loved coming. And from there, they took the lessons and joined the church. But when Kelly had emphysema, so we knew she was going to die before too much longer. And but every time we would get together with Jack and Kelly, on the way home we'd say, he's for Mom. He's just perfect for Mom. So after Kelly died, we waited a bit, but all these other ladies were coming over, visiting with him, bringing him cookies and pies and cakes and stuff. So I finally gave him a piece of paper with my mother's phone number on it and said, this is my mother, call her. He didn't right away, but he did. And then they talked for hours, and they burned up the lines for a while, just talking forever. Now, Jack absolutely refused to fly, and his sons were just astounded when I told them this little fact, but it was a 3-day weekend. He was working out at Travis Air Force. It was a 3-day weekend, so he had Columbus Day, Monday off. So he took Friday off, and he flew out on Friday. He proposed to Mother on Saturday. She accepted on Sunday, and he flew home on Monday. And then she came out for Thanksgiving, and we had a bridal shower for her. She'd never had anything like that. And then she flew out for Christmas, and that's when they got married, and he went back. And they used to sit around the table at night and grade papers together. They joined a square dance group, and the things that when they were happy and healthy and doing all these things weren't things that you children were aware of. You never saw them again till they were kind of old and decrepit.
Yeah, when I know each of us in turn, when we were 14, went out that summer to visit them in St. Joseph.
For 2 weeks, and Mom would drive you around to all the church history spots and everything, and keep you for 2 weeks. I couldn't convince her to keep you all summer, but
Yeah, Liberty Jail was out there, wasn't it?
Yep. So yes, you did see them when they were still active and healthy and everything.
Well, I was the last of the bunch, but well, yes, big difference compared to when they lived the last of their lives out here.
Ooh, yeah.
They were, in my eyes, they were still old then, but
Oh, yes. Just like David and I are old to our grandchildren now.
well, you know, if I keep this zoom out kind of far, you know, you guys look all right.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Turn off the HD, huh?
yeah, you know, as long as I don't zoom in on mom again, you know, we don't see any problems. She's still fairly young. Look, she doesn't have any gray hair.
She doesn't. This is my natural color.
You do have, don't you have some right behind your ear though?
Right a little bit here and a few little bits here. What?
40 years ago was your natural color.
No, it is. After your wedding and I looked at the pictures, I'd been highlighting my hair for so many years, it was looking too white. And I didn't want people to think that was my natural hair color. So I went and she dyed it to match the roots. So covered up all the two blonde stuff, and this is my natural color, but I kind of miss some blonde highlights. I'd like to go back and get a few of those again.
So you don't have any kind of dye in your hair whatsoever.
I do have the natural color. It's dyed to the natural color. You check the roots, and
It's not her
so
natural
that when it
hair
grows
currently.
out, you don't see a big growth line.
Right.
But yeah, she did that and matched it. Except it's redder than my natural hair color. I do not know why, but
You're starting to look like your mother. She had really red hair. Was
yeah.
was that natural for her hair color?
oh,
Or?
yes. Grandmother had 6 kids, and 3 of them were redheads and 3 of them were blondes. My mother was a redhead. And out
Oh,
of
your grandmother. Got me
25
confused.
grandchildren, she had 1 that had red hair. She always felt like she'd been cheated.
Well, she's got great grandchildren with red beards, so there we go.
There you go.
Everybody seems to be sleeping.
Oh, I can understand why these two are.
Well, I guess it was because I was talking.
Yeah, well, Dad, tell a story to perk everyone up.
Tell the story about
There, got a record of you. You're the only one not
cookie truck.
sleeping. Oh, the cookie truck.
Joseph likes the stories when he was cute. He was cute.
There's not that many stories in 2 weeks.
There aren't that many stories. All right.
So she
I guess we had been visiting Grandma Child, and we were in a car, I think it was a big brown van, and going home. And
What city?
And I don't know why I let him ride in the front seat, but he was in the front seat. So he was on the passenger side, and we pulled up to make a left turn, and a lady driving some kind of a cookie truck. I don't think it was Mother's Cookies though. Some kind of a cookie truck pulled up next to us, and we were waiting for the light to change. And Joseph looked up at her and smiled. And she smiled back, and he smiled back, and he smiled like that again. And she said, "He is so cute. Can I give him a package of cookies?" I thought, well, okay. And we were just waiting for the lights to change, so she hurried and stuck it through the window. The light changed, and we turned left, and then when her light changed, she turned straight. She went straight ahead. But they were a package of moon pies. I do remember, because I don't like moon pies. I wish she'd given us something I liked.
They were poisoned.
Were they? They made you grow tall,
I know.
so they were poisoned.
It just like shortened it down time period.
Yeah, they kept you from getting too tall.
Tell
Boy.
a story about Caleb getting his foot chopped off.
I thought that just got ran over.
Caleb getting his foot chopped off.
Yeah, this one right here, right? Or was it this one? I don't remember.
Story.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I thought it was
I guess it's my story to tell anyway.
It is very traumatic, and it was a traumatic moment in our marriage, and we'll just leave it at that.
Was it Caleb or Joseph who got his head whacked open with the church door? It was Caleb.
That was,
That was me.
Caleb, right there.
Running late for church.
We were hurrying in, we opened the door, and he tripped on the big mat and fell forward and hit the edge of that metal door right there. And I just looked at him and I said to David, okay, you take the others into church, I'll go down to Kaiser. I was the stitches parent. David was the broken bones parent, which only happened to Joseph.
My hairline is kind of receding a little bit. That's how I.
Kind of receding a little bit. You got that.
Yeah, because that scar is a marker for where my hairline used to be. Because it used to be kind of hard to see.
But, you know, if we'd have gone boating instead of going to church, and he'd have cut himself, I'd have said, well, you know, we deserve that. But gee, going to church? I had to miss church that day. Ah, but that meant that David was there that had to keep the other boys quiet by himself. Ha ha ha.
So let's just get at least one more good story out of Dad, and then we'll call it a day.
Tell a story about taking Micah on the truck.
Actually, real quick, we didn't get on the camera what happened to the was it Allie? That the dog you took with you when you were selling Airwipe. We didn't get that story on the camera yet.
Either jumped out of the truck or ran away.
Yep.
And you didn't want to go back for it.
Either
Axel.
we took around a corner and knocked him off
It's okay.
with the
It's nice
fifth
to
wheel,
disturb people when they're sleeping
Or-
because he thinks it's free
I don't
game
think
to-
so. I think he
jumped off.
jumped off before we as we got in. He jumped out to run on the grass like he.
Like he did with Micah.
Yep. And, I think.
Well, you could tell the story about taking Micah on the truck. He was 2 years old. Micah's first word he ever spoke was bruck. He would get up in the morning all woozy and go stand by the front door and say, go bye-bye, Mama, go bye-bye. He was a traveler. And he loved the gruck. So David took him for a gruck ride.
I did.
And I packed a lunch and a bag full of diapers and off he
You
went.
did a lot of that when we would visit you when it was just Alex and I. And when we visited you, we would have two choices. Usually we could do both, but I remember we would if we would usually come on a Friday, so you would take us to your school, and we would spend the day with you at the school, and you know.
This was your summer vacation.
Yeah, this when we visited you from Hawaii, and when we visited you, Grandpa, you'd take us on the truck, and we would help push all that, the paper stuff.
The paper pulp.
The paper pulp, yeah, we would help take that out of the truck, and we would go. And reminds me when we would go, you would make egg sandwiches for us, and you know.
Fried egg or chopped up egg?
It was scrambled, and you would, and you know, you'd
With
make a grandpa
mustard
style, and then you would,
mayonnaise.
and the
I
night
remember.
before, you'd get the kid who was coming with you that day, the night before to help you make your chocolate banana smoothie thing. I still remember all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Doing that, you'd let us peel the banana and we'd put it in, and
I remember those shakes you used to always drink.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
I just,
Was that Slim Fast with a banana in it, or was it?
It was chocolate. I
It was
remember.
that's about what it was. It was
Not actual Slim
no,
Fast,
but
but
it was for losing some weight and everything. And well, we tried lots of different things to lose weight.
Go back and finish telling a story about Micah. and the
Yeah,
truck.
Micah
I just
was right.
remember, just real quick though, the Slim Fast. I remember we get like the big old huge container of it from like Costco or something, and we as the kids, at least I myself, I remember just drank a lot of that. Not like as a proper diet substitute, but just like as a snack because it was tasty.
As a chocolate milk.
Yeah, it really did not. I really did not understand how it was supposed to help you lose weight when we just drank it like chocolate milk.
Guzzled it down.
Okay, so taking Micah on the truck.
Okay, Micah and I were we took a couple different trips actually, and one we were going on up to Eureka and to a school where we were.
You'd be taking roofing there.
No, we were mixing asphalt into, it would mix into a rubber rubberized thing to make a track. And we took that. I took it up there, and he was just happy as can be as long as he was traveling, you know.
As long as the truck was going, he was happy.
And we did stop. I put him on the back of the dromedary is what it's called, of the truck, and change his diaper and go
One
off.
diaper.
One diaper. and we traveled all the way up there, all the way back. That would have been about
Early in the morning till night.
yeah.
And they got home and I took the stuff in and started unpacking the bags. And it was still full of clean, dry diapers.
And I said, well, he wasn't
Never got wet.
never got wet, but he got home and he just chugged
By the
the
sink
water,
and wanted a drink.
chugged the water, and drank and drank and drank and drank. Says, well, gosh, says, why didn't you give him some water? Why didn't you feed him? Says, well, he never asked. He was just
Too content
happy
to ride.
happy to ride, you know. That was another time I took him with me down to
It's always been Micah.
Bakersfield, and I had a empty tanker. I was gonna I forget which way I was, either loaded or empty, but anyway, I was going along and I was scooting along pretty good, and some cop pulled me over. And he says, what are you doing speeding when you heard all the guys on the CBs telling you to watch out for Smokey and that, you know? So, I had it turned down because I had my
Little boy.
in the back sleeping, and I didn't want to wake him up. And he took pity on me and let me go with a warning, you know. But it paid to have cute little kids go with you at the time.
Literally paid. I remember one time I was at least like I think I was like beginning first grade or something, and I went to grandma's school. I don't know if you might remember this, but I got lost one day. I think I used the bathroom or something, and I just could not find my way back. And
This was where?
this is when grandma was still teaching in the
At
morning.
Laurel Creek.
Ah.
Yeah. And I got so scared, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't know where I am. I don't know where my grandma is. To make a long story short, a teacher found me, and she I think I kept on telling her I'm looking for grandma. and then I think she just like brought me to like 4 other classes. Is this your grandma? No. Finally we found her, and I was just so upset. I was crying. I go back to her, and she just looks at me. She's like, "Oh, I thought you were at PE with all the kids." Oh, but you know.
So I guess it's not the first time you've lost track of a little one, is it, Mother?
I'm sure.
I thought you were somewhere else.
But
Yeah, well, we
all
will
of you
never
guys
tell
were on
that
purpose.
story.
Mine was on accident.
We will never tell that other story.
Because this is going on
Poor
YouTube, right?
parenting. We don't tell those stories.
Like when Caleb was walking home from
Yeah, we're not gonna tell that story.
walking home from the steak center.
Listen, the only poor parenting one was a good story where we chained our son to his bed.
I would call that funny parenting.
Yeah. That was called desperation parenting.
He was happy with it for almost a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb took us literally once.
No, we're not gonna tell that story.
Why not?
Dad can tell the story.
No, we're not.
Dad can tell whatever story he wants, just
No,
preferably something
we're
clean.
not. Yeah, but something that doesn't put his wife in such a bad light.
Who put you in a bad light?
Yes, it does.
It puts me in the bad light.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you're really good with
Be
English,
obedient.
so you did probably took it literally.
You were 6 years old. So, let's see, there was ought to be another story. David always liked to take Ezra on the truck because he talked a lot. And you know, Caleb didn't get the opportunity to do so much truck riding as the other boys did.
Well, not the big truck rides, but I went with him doing paper pulp a number of times.
I remember.
And I also went with Dad when we went to pick up the kiln.
Yes.
I remember.
Do you want to tell stories about that one, picking up the kiln?
Yeah. When you, Joseph and I drove out, and you flew out
With Lester.
with Lester. And Lester, when he got back to us there, he says, "Listen, whatever you do, you take Caleb, and I'll take Joseph." He just talked my head off, you know. I think that's what he said. It was just talk, and probably didn't make any sense either when he did. But I was hoping to take Joseph back because he was a lot more coherent than Caleb was.
It's okay if you want to stay quiet.
No,
You should tell about the going through Flagstaff.
yeah, we went through Flagstaff, Arizona, going down with,
We had one truck we were driving and the other truck we were hauling.
yep, and we come up over the grade, and suddenly it started snowing, just,
Just normal for Flagstaff.
and we had the wipers going like crazy, and we hurried up and got all the stuff off of the defroster so it could heat up and everything, and it's still just poof, white out. So Joseph had to look out one side and make sure that we weren't going off the cliff, and I'd have my head out the other side to try to see where we were going, and until we made it up over the hill and could finally,
It was scary.
yeah, it was,
Couldn't see through the windshield.
and it was
Imagine it was
drop off at the other end, other side.
Imagine it was cold too.
Yeah, we didn't notice with the windows down that it was
Adrenaline
cold.
going.
I remember anytime we went trucking, you would always challenge me to jump off and to get in the paper pulp. Because I'd always tell you like, oh, it looks like poop, and you'd be like, yeah, go jump in it, man. You jokingly push me. I mean, one time you jokingly pushed me, and I actually fell in this giant pile, and I come out, I'm just covered head to toe in paper pulp. And you're like, well, how was it? I'm like, that was fun. I go over again and again, and I remember when we came back, Dad got really upset over the fact that my shoes were destroyed because paper pulp just got into it and just made it so dirty, and he was not a happy camper that one day.
I forwarded on Facebook a picture of a cat that had jumped in
Don?
a box of,
Oh, the styrofoam pellets.
yeah, styrofoam pellets, that's what it is. They'd probably taken the stuff out, and the box of styrofoam pellets were still sitting there. and the cat had styrofoam pellets all over it except right around its face. It just looked like it deserved it.
So what year was it that you were taking the kiln trip? I know I was in the
That was between 95 and 97.
because I was in the 6th grade. I know that much.
Well, what year was that if you were in the sixth grade?
Oh, I graduated 2000, so
Technically.
1999? 1998? Someplace along in there then.
That was
So-
my mission then, so between
No.
95 and 97.
okay. Well, there we go. 95 and 97.
5 then.
Oh, you mean you graduated
Really?
from high school in 2000?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about 6th grade you graduated.
Go.
Actually, he didn't graduate from 6th grade, and it kind of pissed me off.
So we're talking about the kiln
I
run.
let him participate because he didn't
What about
have
it?
grades.
Other stories to tell about it?
So he wasn't allowed to go
I
to the
remember.
graduation dance.
I,
Going to graduate.
I remember there was a. You stole it. You drove off with it before you paid for it.
Yeah, sort of like that. The guy came out with all the paperwork and said, "Here you go." We thought all the things had been taken care of, you know.
I thought he said. Have a good trip.
Have a good trip, huh?
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
And we got in and took off. And then this guy, this jerk was said, well, we weren't in any communication with us because I don't even know if we had cell phones.
You had a cell phone.
Did we?
Because I remember, but it was a car phone or a cell phone. It was a car phone, not a cell phone. But you had that because you had that in your Cadillac, and you took it out of the Cadillac and brought it with you on the trip. I remember because I remember they called you on that, and you were on the phone with them for quite a while after we had left. But it was a while after we had left. It was like a couple hours. It wasn't like they caught it right away. That's what was odd, in my opinion.
Well, this guy was insistent that, you know, we come up with $50,000 more than we had. So I forget the reasoning for it, but we were already well on our way home, and so Steve went and factored some money. In other words, he would sell our receipts to some guy, and he'd pay us up front so that we could pay this guy and Steve said that he would mail it out to him, and the guy was just infuriated. Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. He said, well, look, I'll tell you what, I will fly it out to you, and I will give it to you, and I will proceed to beat the hell out of you after that, you know? And the guy, he decided not to do that. He decided to wait. He calmed down, you know, and then decided he would wait for it to be mailed to him. It was a pretty intense sort of thing, you know.
Well, why did the price go up, or you didn't have the right price, or what?
It was something to do with the taxes on it or something, you know. There had to be some taxes paid on it, and I don't recall it exactly. But I'm sure Steve still does, because he had to do all the figuring and everything on it. That was going to be my last hurrah of driving a truck. Is driving that.
Well, it was your last.
Settle down.
It was your last big trucking trip. That's for sure.
Roger,
Yeah.
good.
Everything else was just some local thing. There and back, did like 2 runs in one day.
Don't jump up.
Yep.
Dad told me how they would get when Uncle Lester visited or was driving you guys over. They would always, you three would always plan to sit Uncle Caleb in the front right next to him, because then he would just talk the whole time and never really did anything.
Well, we must have covered enough bases for now.
All right.
All right.
It's almost 8 o'clock. Kids have got school tomorrow.
I just kind of missed because earlier when we were having dinner, you were right on the ball. You weren't slow or anything. Oh well. Thank you for the stories.